now, because his legs just locked up as he realised there was no point in the effort, because the Mapei boys have organised the chase down and they're now beginning to close down the gap as a group. 7 kilometres to go, most of it climbing now all of the way to the line. The pink jersey of Rominger keeping in a position where he can control just about everything. He'll watch just the men nearest to him at the moment. Remember that Maurizio Fondriest is second overall in the race, and we haven't seen a lot of him either, I must say. Casagrande is third and Berzin is fourth. Claudio Chiappucci on the Carrera team, always a high flyer in the Giro d'Italia. He's in 11th place at the minute, 2 minutes 24 seconds away from the Maglia Rosa. And now back with the leading group here. They may be being caught at the moment, but this is still an attack here, and it's gone now from Alessandro Bertolini of Carrera, and that's caused a reaction. But they're only just dangling off the front of the whole race, and now you get the picture here. Down below is the end of the tail of the leaders, and now you see the main field spiralling down towards them. And what a marvellous picture that is from the helicopter. And I must say that all of the motorbikes from the press are stuck in between. They're going to have to find a way out of this pretty quickly now. It's reminiscent of the descent down the Poggio, down into the end of Milan-San Remo, the great classic at the beginning of the season. Now the rider here trying to just keep the race going is Alberto Elli. And look at the speed that they're managing. Don't forget, they're coming off the swoop as well, but they're still clocking just under 60 kilometres an hour as they try to stay clear. There's the man that started the reaction, number 58, Bertolini, and still trying to keep it going. But now I think the field has got them in their sights, and there's just a couple of survivors as his Sky Whiz bringing the field up. Bertolini is still here as he tries desperately to hang on, and he's going to go for it himself. He's going to try and hang on towards the finish. The finish is not very far away, and Bertolini could get this. He's the only one left of that breakaway of 6 now as the Gaywiz team try to close down the gap, and Rominger is in there too. Rominger lying 4th or 5th down the line. It looks like Maurizio Fondriest just in front of Tony Rominger. Bertolini hanging on as the riders come up towards the finish now. Rominger is waiting to start the sprint here. And Ugrumov is trying to lead out, but he's falling away as Rominger starts, and now Fondriest has got his wheel, and Casagrande is tucked in into 3rd place. This again has become a battle among the leaders of the Giro d'Italia, and Fondriest is in the best position, but remember, he's been second more times this year than he cares to remember. But not this time. Rominger has dropped back and Fondriest has gone forward. Casagrande is trying, Ugrumov is hanging on there in 4th place, but again Maurizio Fondriest is back on the winner's podium for only the 2nd time this year. He won a stage of the 3 days of Depana. He gets the victory in this stage of the Giro d'Italia. And there's the result. Fondriest getting home just ahead of Rominger and Casagrande. Ugrumov, in fact, was given 4th. The numbers have been mistaken by the cameras. 8 days now covered in the Giro. This is stage number 8, Acqua Pesa Marina at sea level, taking the riders right to the heights of 1,546 metres at Monte Sereno. 209 kilometres a day perhaps for the riders to test the strength of Tony Rominger, who has led this race since day 2. And round the rims of what appears to be a crater here at the moment, but the riders are going to be climbing for much of the day and descending as well. And a breakaway of 16 men. They got clear after 22 kilometres on the first climb of the day, and it's being led here by Francesco Frattini, who comes to this race having just won the Grand Prix of Frankfurt, his first World Cup event, continuing the trend of the successful Italian riders again this year. There's the lineup of the breakaway, and Frattini has a teammate in here in Bruno Kengialta, this immensely strong Italian who is threatening to do something big in this race. He's been challenging almost daily. And once again, the pressure back on the Mapei team. They're having to do an awful lot of work for Tony Rominger. He's taken the lead in this tour so early on. And although originally he said he didn't want to keep the pink jersey all the way to the finish, to me, he looks as though he might have changed his mind. There he is, staying in amongst with the teammates, while the breakaway itself is thinning out a little bit, but still here is Hernan Buenahera. Also, Georg Tocznik of Poltny, Simone Borgaresi, Mariana Piccoli, who has been a long-time leader of the King of the Mountain section of this race, and the Cubino, the leader of the Kelme team. And there is Tony Rominger. None of the riders in the lead breakaway, a particular threat at the moment to the pink jersey of Tony Rominger. The gap, 3 minutes 2 seconds. That's about the best we've had all day. And Evgeni Berzin taking full advantage of the Mapei team tactics and sitting in there nicely. The defending champion, don't forget. It was only in the last week of the Giro last year where he started to look a little bit more normal as Miguel Indurain got into his stride. And the breakaway there beginning to splinter now. They're down to just 8 riders in that front group. And this is Kengi Alta on the front. Georg Tocznik trying to go clear at the back as well. The 4 of them going ahead here. Cubino is the other rider from Kelme. And this is the remnants of the breakaway. Frattini now at the back of that second group. So the 8 men are split into 2 groups of 4. And Kelme have got their 2 strong men up here. Bueno Hora, the Colombian member, and also the team leader, Lordolino Cubino. Remember last year, Cubino got away on his own and won a stage. That was his first ever stage victory in the Giro d'Italia. And now he's got into what could be the right move again. Berzin not interested either in the breakaway. More the whereabouts of Tony Rominger. Pavel Tonkov on his right shoulder. Well, there's been no indication yet from Berzin just how well he really is going in this year's Giro d'Italia. And Tony Rominger hasn't been put under pressure yet by him either. The group split is around 12 seconds apart, 4 and 4, and the main field is coming back as well. 1 minute and 37 seconds. We're now on the climb, which will take us up to the top, and the climb is 5,000 plus feet to the summit. Very fast but steady tempo. Nobody willing to set the pace at all. 9 kilometers to the finish. Georg Tocznik, I saw him race as an amateur in the Tour of South Africa. A very, very talented mountain climber indeed. Just beginning to get his feet now as a professional rider. But one of Austria's finest amateur cyclists, along with Lanfranchi. And this is Cubino and Kengi Alta. And in fact, it looks to me as though they've dropped. There's Piccoli, the King of the Mountains leader. He's back in the group now, so he's been caught from that leading breakaway. He's in the green jersey. And also disappeared now is Bueno Hora. Tocznik taking a look down as we get through to 7 kilometers to go. And Cubino, I was about to say, it seems to be the strong man, and as I was about to say it, he's launched an acceleration like all good climbers can. Kengi Alta straight onto him, and at the same time the Polti team car was up there to talk to Tocznik, and a chance to encourage Tocznik as well. Kengi Alta cracked. He could not match the rhythm there of Cubino, and now it's up to Georg Tocznik to try and cross the gap alone, because Kengi Alta hit the wall in no uncertain terms there. So Cubino trying to go away for what would be only his 2nd ever stage victory in the Tour of Italy. Concentrating very well indeed. The team, one of the early selections for this year's Tour de France, and that makes a change because they're so often on the reserve list. Now, can Tocznik get across the gap here? This is a chance for Georg Tocznik to really shine and give the team a big result. But the rhythm behind continues. Moto 3 indicating now that we have 2 split groups up front, and the 3rd motorcycle camera coming back to the head of the main peloton. The long twisting descent. It's only a little bit of a brief descent before the climb begins again, and we're going down at between 45 and 50 kilometers an hour. And Cubino now trying to go clear, and that lead car, I would suggest, wants to get out of the way. Because Cubino, oh, and my goodness me, this is the race for 2nd place, and Tocznik has gone down, it appears, just as in fact Bruno Kengi Alta had arrived back on the scene, and I must say the Polti team car was there rather swiftly. But listen to the skidding tyres of the lead car here, because they can't get out of the way of the fastest ending Cubino. Let's look at the crash here now. Kengi Alta had just come back over the top and was on the wheel, and it was about now where Georg Tocznik realised he wasn't going to make this bend. He put his front brake on as well, and then he overshot it. Well, he was lucky he was able to get some control on the bike there, because the fall, nothing like as serious as it might have been. Meanwhile, with his braces stuck to the fender of the lead car, we have Lordolino Cubino trying to get space on the descent here. And these are the legs of Tocznik, who's got himself back into the action. Surprisingly, hardly a mark on him after that slip and slide on that left-hand bend, but he's still ahead of the field, who are now on the way up again. So the Mapei team, as we go into the last 3 kilometres for Cubino, are holding that race together. Rominger will be very happy with the way this first taste of mountains has gone today. The long climb to the finish will help him find if his climbing legs are there for this year. And he's using all of his team, and Rominger holding good order in second place. Berzin right behind him in third. Casagrande is also up there. Casagrande is the big surprise so far. Everybody's saying this young man is going to be a star of the future. Well, maybe that ascension is starting in this year's Giro d'Italia. But this is further up the mountain, and Tocznik has been detached, or really not got back to Kengialta after that crash. He's got him in his sights though, and he's hanging on. Meanwhile, Javier Morleon of the Mapei team is doing a great job here for Rominger, keeping the tempo high. And Berzin and Casagrande still riding in the slipstream. That's the advantage when another team has the race leader. You can, if you've got the strength, just follow. Under the kilometre to go banner. Cubino doing what he did a year ago and getting himself a lone victory on a stage in the Giro. And I don't think anybody's going to stop him now, because his lead over Kengialta on the road is approaching 1 minute and a quarter. There's Kengialta coming up the climb as well. And there's the time gap over the screen there. And it's going to be more than 1 minute and a quarter as Kengialta rides up to the line to take second place on the stage. But last a return for a big effort. But what a recovery here by Rominger. The gap has come down today, and Rominger comes in. He takes 7th place on the stage, 1 minute and 38 seconds back. And the rest of the riders come over the line. Well, the gains, again, a few seconds more gain for Rominger over Ugrumov. And Berzin has lost a little bit of time there, because here is Berzin. So over the last couple of kilometres of the climb, Berzin has lost big time. And in fact, he's conceded something like 20 seconds to Tony Rominger. That's his main aim. But what about this man, Maurizio Fondriest, flying high on the overall classification? Look at the clock. Almost 5.5, 6 minutes lost to the winner today. But indeed, a big time lost also to Tony Rominger. So, L'Ordolino Cubino has ridden into the top 3 in the overall classification today with his stage win here. 1 minute and 19 ahead of Kengialta. And then looking down the list, Tocznik came home there in 6th place. 1 minute 38 back. 1,346 kilometres now covered in this year's Giro d'Italia, and they're facing 165 kilometres from Terni La Calda to Salerno. And as you can see, this one at least is all downhill as they head towards the beautiful old Roman town of Salerno. Not a day really for Rominger to worry too much about, but he'll have to watch out what's going on, because there is quite a battle developing. This is the overall situation. He's now 1 minute 17 seconds ahead of Casagrande, and Casagrande is still very much in the thick of things, although his brother, by the way, Filippo, who won earlier, retired yesterday. And today, after only 17 kilometres, the riders are under pressure by an attack of some 12 men who've gone clear. And there's a little effort here to try and limit the escape. And again, Mercatoni Uno riders are trying to get on terms here. This is the breakaway. They've never really been under pressure from behind. Mario Chiesa, 3 men down on the right of our picture, is back in the attack once more. This is Girotto coming through at the moment. Rolf Sorensen is here, number 128. Francesco Frattini, the winner of the Grand Prix of Frankfurt, is also in here. And this now, there is Rolf Sorensen, the Danish rider. Number 115 is Farazin for the Lampre team. And number 26 going through there is Lafisse. There's Massimo Girotto, former stage winner in the Tour de France, and indeed it looks as though there's a little problem on the right there, because the hand went up of the Dane. Rolf Sorensen wants a little bit of attention, perhaps to know exactly the whereabouts of everybody else. Now, when Sorensen was in a breakaway about 6 days ago, he was a threat to the overall lead of Tony Rominger. Since then, he's lost far too much time, and now he can dream only of a stage win. By the way, he's been riding the Tour of Italy for about 9 years. And he's never won a stage of it, which I find amazing, because this is a man who's won most of the big races, one of the most successful Danish riders ever. Well, he's made the move again. Now can he do something about it? He's had countless seconds. In fact, he's been almost there on 2 occasions in this year's event. Finished second in the time trial, don't forget, and second at Tortorido Lido as well. And one occasion he probably doesn't want to remember was the bad crash he had in this event back in 1987, the year the race was won by the Irish rider Stephen Roach after his great duel with Roberto Vicentini. And these 12 leaders have not put a wheel out of place today, but they really are dangling just in front of the main field, being led here by Podenzano, the champion of Italy. 30 seconds is the time gap. These 12 riders have been together for the best part of 100 kilometres. All 12 now about to contest the sprint. The first man who's come around the corner here is the ZG Mobili rider, and that is Stefano Cattai. Well, I hope he's not trying to lead out his teammate Girotto, because Girotto isn't the best sprinter either. He's off to the left with the balding head there. But Cattai has got his chance, and Sorensen has got the best position. He's lying there in second place. Frattini is in third place, the winner of the Grand Prix of Frankfurt. And now Cattai has a little bit of a gap, but I don't think he's going to hold it. It's still a long, long way to the finish. Just look at the straight here. This is a most difficult sprint. He's been totally misjudged here by Stefano Cattai. He now begins to wish he could start all over again, because the riders behind are jostling for position. Francois Simon is also here, former stage winner in the Giro d'Italia a couple of years ago. And the pack have closed right in behind them. There's no more time now to mess about, because the field is coming down on them very, very quickly indeed, as Salagari starts to go for the line now, and so too does Sorensen. And Sorensen now is digging on the wheels here, and look at this, Francois Simon to the right in the blue jersey as Sorensen bursts through as well. Simon, Frattini is there, but Sorensen is going to get the win. Frattini hangs on for second, and Simon will take third, and the bunch comes in here. Manzoni gets the sprint there. He's ahead of Massimo Strazza of the Navigar team, but this is how the race was won by Rolf Sorensen. He came very late, but he timed it to perfection, and so now he knows what it's like to win a stage of the Giro d'Italia after 9 years of trying to be first to the finish line. He wins in the end by quite a little way here. A good finish by Frattini, he gets second, and Simon takes third. So this is a moment for Rolf Sorensen to cherish. He's only had one win previously this year, and he is a prolific winner over the years. And there's the confirmation of the result. Salagari in fourth place. Massimo Girotto there, I was saying he couldn't sprint. He managed to get fifth. Now it's to the eve of the rest day, but the most important stage since the beginning, the time trial over 42 kilometres, the 10th stage. Starts and finishes more or less 200 feet above sea level. A little climb in the middle takes them up to 200 metres. The best time so far set by Patrick Jonker of Australia, but Fondries has improved on that. He's gone 27 seconds quicker, 53 minutes and 38 seconds. So Fondries still full of fight in the time trials. Now, what about Evgeni Berzin? Go back a year, #1 in the Tour. This year as defending champion. Last year he was dominating in the time trials and running Miguel Indurain. This is his arch rival on the team and in the race too, Piotr Ugrumov, who starts behind Berzin because he's higher up in the overall classification. There's still no love lost between those two teammates either, by the way. This is Francesco Casagrande, who has really been the surprise in this year's event so far. Everybody waiting for his bad day. Well, he's not getting one right now, and we expect a good time trial out of him. And an early chance to look at Tony Rominger's new bike. It arrived last night and weighs just 3 pounds. It's a carbon fibre Colnago, and he really wants to ride it, especially in this time trial. He's last to start, of course, today. This is Ugrumov coming in at the check at 18 kilometres, and Berzin's the quickest through here at the moment. Ugrumov is going very close to his time, but here's the man now setting the trend out on the course. So Evgeni Berzin is finding his time trial legs at last, and he's going to be a challenge again in this year's Tour of Italy. There's Piotr Ugrumov. The two Gay Whiz riders still vying for the team leadership of the team, and they're running very, very close to one another out on the course. Berzin coming up to the third check at La Vaccaria. The best time through here already finished is Maurizio Fondries, 39 minutes 31 seconds to this point, but Berzin is going to go through with the best time by 25.5 seconds. Just over 30 miles an hour is average speed despite the climbs. Now Tony Rominger having the advantage of being last to start. He's ahead of Casagrande. Casagrande himself, the time checks indicating he too is still producing a ride in the top 5 today if he can maintain the speed. An arrival now at the finish. Fondries still the leader, 53.38. That's the shot for Berzin to aim at, and he's going to beat it. There's no doubt about that now. Evgeni Berzin has had an excellent time trial today to become a challenger again in the Tour of Italy. He rounds the furthest hairpin bend to the line. It's an awful long way round that corner. Now he sees the finish, hits the line, 53.18, 20 seconds quicker than Fondriest. But you know, Ugrumov and Rominger are running him very, very close indeed. Casagrande not too far away, but this is the check at the third and final time check out on the course. And Casagrande rivaling Bob Reek and fourth fastest. That's not bad for Casagrande. That will maintain a high position overall and conceding only 33 seconds to Evgeni Berzin there. Ugrumov coming into the finish around that corner again, and it's going to be desperately close. He hits the line. It's almost an identical time to the nearest whole second. Ugrumov and Berzin will prove inseparable with those times. They will be equal on time in the time trial. What an amazing performance by those two. This is Rominger. Rominger already better than Berzin here by 51 seconds at the third check. The third check coming at 30 kilometres, by the way, just 12 kilometres from the finish. So Rominger now is riding to what will be his third stage victory, all being well, in this year's Giro. The man in pink is beginning to build himself quite a lead overall. Casagrande holding himself in the frame against much more famous names than him, but he is developing and developing well. So it looks like a good decision by Rominger here to use a bike which is comparatively strange to him. Casagrande wobbling a little bit as he makes the final turns towards the finish. His time is going to be a good one though. He's now running close to the time of Fondriest. So that's the third best time recorded now behind Berzin and Ugrumov. So Casagrande is definitely on a top 5 finish now in the time trial. That maintains his challenge. As he sprints to the line, he gets third over the line. That's an excellent ride. 19 seconds slower than Berzin. Well, to concede only 19 seconds to the young Russian is a ride. Now Rominger is going to beat them all. Look at this, 51.35 and counting, as against 53.18 on the finish for Berzin. So again, Tony Rominger has delivered a blow. He's beaten the man that dominated the race last year in the time trials. Rominger is well on his way now to winning this year's Tour of Italy, and there's still the mountains to come. Hits the line in 51.54. He wins by an enormous margin, 1 minute and 24.2 seconds. So Tony Rominger has continued to increase his overall lead in this year's Giro d'Italia, his third visit to the winner's podium, and now in the overall he is 3 minutes ahead of Casagrande, who has gone up to second today. Ugrumov is now in to third. And after a day of rest and a rather slow train ride, the riders have now moved up the coastline to Pietrasanta, ready for a first day in the mountains of this year's race. 175 kilometres, taking the riders to Il Ciocco. And this is the climb which takes them up to the dizzy heights of 5,250 feet. This is San Pellegrino, and the rider on the attack here now is Zaina, the Carrera rider. And this, without doubt, the steepest climb in this year's Giro d'Italia. Zaina has made an attack. In fact, there was a breakaway of 12 riders forming after only 12 kilometres of the stage today, and this despite more than 50 kilometres being covered in slightly over the hour of racing. And there's the details of the climb, and I can just add that this has an average gradient, by the way, of 12% with a maximum slope of 16%. The rider struggling here, number 127, Luca Cinto. And a massive crowd here on the climb of San Pellegrino. 100 metres now to the top for Enrico Zaina. And he's ridden most of the way up by himself here, and he's found the strength to just get out of the saddle and sprint for the prize at the top. As the chase behind continues, this is Luca Cinto. And the little man in front, I think, is Nelson Rodriguez. Rodriguez, second, and if you remember, a great battle in the Tour de France with him last year and Ugrumov, and he took the stage off Ugrumov in the Alps in the last week of the Tour. Well, he's got second place up the climb, and Cinto has taken third. Now, over the top of the climb here, Zaina on his way down, very tricky but long descent. Rodriguez, very good at going uphill, doesn't look quite so confident on the way down, and Cinto has taken control of the descent. And And 2 minutes 5 seconds the leaders now have, or the leader now has, back to the group of the Mapei-Rosa, which is that of Tony Rominger. And as you can see, 50 kilometers still to go to the finish. Around about 30 miles left to run towards the end of the stage. And the group, the split now on the main group. So Zaina has 35 seconds lead now, and now we're seeing once more the Mapei team back in tempo. Nobody in again in that breakaway that has worried Tony Rominger. Rominger just making sure he keeps a tight rein now, especially on Casagrande, and of course Ugrumov and Berzin, the terrible twins who race on the Gawi's team, because they are watching each other as well as Rominger. And Rodriguez and in fact Zaina has been caught there by Rodriguez and Shinto, and this is the rest of the breakaway further down the hill. Gilberto Simoni completing this group. And the pink jersey of Rominger seemingly having everything under control on the descent. Here's the update. 1:40 to the chase, 2 minutes 40 back to Rominger's bunch. Well, this has been the first day of testing the mountains, and as so often happens on the first day, the big riders don't attack. They wait to see where the challenges go. And by Shinto is in a bit of trouble, and he was doing a Georg Tocznik on the left-hand bend there. Well, he did it with a little bit more panache. He didn't actually hit the wall. He managed to stop and put himself to rights, and he's going to get back into this lead group. So we still have the three same riders out in front. Enrico Zaina up there, and he set the trend for most of the day today, led the way up the San Pellegrino climb. And this is the other group here. This is little Alberto Elli, third in line. The chase group still over a minute behind the three leaders. The descent has been completed, and 23 kilometers to go now to the finish. The chase group, Laurent Madouas, the ever-improving Frenchman on the right of our picture here. And once more, Mapei deciding they're going to have to do something about this and try and drag Tony Rominger back into the action. Look at the difference in the pedalling rate of Tony Rominger and the other riders. He sits there like a real true climber and pedals those low gears. This is the chase group. Copilillo is the Navigar rider here. Taking them around the corner, Giorgio Furlan. Very quiet season this year, Giorgio Furlan has had. And number 13 at the back here is Simoni. And the leader here, Arsenio Gonzalez for the Mapei, trying to pull now Tony Rominger back into action, but also Ugrumov and Berzin is in that group as well, as they're going now towards the approach to the finish. The three leaders are still there, Rodriguez at the back here. Luca Cinto is the other rider, and finally Enrico Zaina. There's the entrance now to what is a 5-kilometer climb up to the finishing line. And this is the small group that's behind, but the main field are not very far behind this group now. The whole field is coming down very, very quickly indeed. And they are just about hanging on. Laurent Madouas is the rider anxious to get to the front there and try and create some sort of diversion as we move further up the climb now. We've just got the two left. Shinto has gone, and there he is. So he's been dropped by the two leaders. Rodriguez is the climber, but Enrico Zaina is the man who's springing a surprise today. And slowly but surely, the breakaway being swept up one by one, as now the Gawi's boys are putting the pressure on Tony Rominger once again. And look at this, Zaina is an inspired rider today, because little Nelson Rodriguez is having an awful job hanging on to him. And Berzin is also turning the screw. Now Rominger, probably the furthest we've seen him away from Berzin since the Giro d'Italia began, as Berzin starts to attack. Sorry about this little bit of picture breakup. It's the old story with our uplift links to the helicopter above in amongst the trees. But we're seeing the action, and Evgeni Berzin now trying to get rid of Rominger, who seems to have recovered. He may have been caught a little way down the field there. He's up there with Ugrumov, who's taken up the pacemaking now. So Piotr Ugrumov able to do a 1-2 with Evgeni Berzin as we go back to the two leaders there together again. So while Zaina and Rodriguez fight out towards the finish, the Gawi's tandem is now trying to get rid of Tony Rominger. A little man, Evgeni Berzin, stamping on those pedals now. Ugrumov, the aging Latvian, who is a tremendous cyclist, now riding alongside his teammate. Zaina continues to make the pace up here, and again he attacks Rodriguez. Now, can Rodriguez answer this one? He's making a much longer dig at this one to try and hold off Rodriguez, but Zainer, I don't think he's got it. He's had to ease up again there. This is Rominger, lower down the slopes now. He's allowed the two Gawies riders to make their effort. Now he's showing them what's left in his legs, and in fact he's pulling them clear of the rest of the field. Now Rominger and co are riding around about 7th or 8th on the road at the moment. There's still the stragglers of that breakaway. Rominger continues to set the pace, just to let them know that he really is the strongest man in this year's Giro d'Italia, starting this morning with a nice 3-minute buffer over Casagrande, who we haven't seen for the last few minutes on this climb, obviously trapped back in that chase group. There's Piotr Ugrumov, and there is Evgeni Berzin, up towards the dizzy heights now at the top of the finish today. The riders turn inland away from the Tyrrhenian Sea just for the finish, and this is Rodriguez still on the wheel of Zainer and inside the last kilometre, and these three are clear. But in between them somewhere we still have Simony, Furlan. We haven't seen sight of those yet. The rest have slowly been swept away by the group, and Ugrumov continues. About 400 metres to go now for these two leaders, and Enrico Zainer has tried and tried and tried again. He was leading, don't forget, over the top of the big climb today. Second over was the man who's second, and alongside him right now, Nelson Rodriguez.